Noon to all of you Ohio Valley Weather Watch followers watching us on the page there and various other areas of social media. This is senior forecaster Mike Estwick, and we have with us meteorologist Austin Stance, and we're taking a look at severe weather coverage here in the area for you. As you can see here on Stormwatch NexRad radar, we have got a line of severe thunderstorms working through the region at this particular point in time. And there's hail associated with these gusty winds. We have had a couple of tornado warnings. The most recently warned storm was right here and over in Mount Vernon, or and now it's just a severe thunderstorm warning. But as we get later over into the day here and into the evening hours, we really think that the threat is going to start to ramp up when we've got quite a few cellular storms that are forming off to the south, and these are back over Missouri, Austin. So go ahead and take a look at this and talk a little bit more about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what we're looking at here, as we talked about yesterday, we were kind of seeing these isolated cells developing out ahead of this line. Now, that cold front is still a little bit further back. And so, this is developing along just out ahead of that cold front there. And so, we could still see a few discrete cells develop out ahead of this line that you're seeing right now that's moving across Illinois. But what you'll notice is that as we move to the south, there is kind of a broken aspect there in southern Missouri, and they're still seeing some of those discrete cells popping up. So I think as we see this line start to develop, there's going to be more of kind of a broken accumulation off to the south there, which is why there's another tornado watch for Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee. And I don't have the exact information on that one right now, but you'll notice though you see that the tornado warning or the tornado watch, excuse me, extends almost in a linear fashion as well, right? So that's exactly where we're going to kind of see that line develop and cross through. So it's important to stay vigilant here, as especially here in Evansville. We are seeing. I'm sitting next to my window right now, and we are seeing plenty of sunshine. It's very humid out there. Now, while the temperatures don't directly reflect a summer day, definitely that muggy humidity feeling that you would feel on like a July day, you can definitely feel outside right now. So that is all going to contribute to the intensity of these storms as they begin to move in here over the next few hours. So it's really important that we keep an eye on those. And again, as this line begins to connect and form, you're going to start to see this bow echo shape. That is going to really reflect that we're going to see some very strong winds, 75 miles per hour or greater in certain aspects of that line as it begins to move in there. So again, we're going to continue to keep an eye on this and tracking this, as Mike is doing a great job of keeping you guys updated here. And one thing that we'll make sure to watch as well is these velocities as this begins to move in, because again, with that line of thunderstorms, we could start to see a QLCS or a quasi-linear convective system threat start to develop for tornadoes. And those tornadoes develop out on the leading edge of that line. So we're going to continue to watch that. And Mike is going to continue to keep you updated, and I'll be here in the background as well, kind of keeping us informed on any new warnings that begin to pop up while he is continuing to track these storms.
Sure thing, and Austin, and I thank you so much for that. And a couple things that Austin touched on that are really good points there. The bow echo. So, for example, out of our coverage area, granted, not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but gang, you got a bow forming right here, right now. Could you see how that's in the shape of an archer's bow there? If we take a look right through here, basically from South Bend all the way back down to west of Indy. So that's starting to turn into a bow echo, and that's indicative of strong winds, 50, 60, 70, maybe even 80 miles per hour on and behind the actual frontal boundary that are pushing that. And it's pushing those storms ahead and making it kind of bow out right there too. And something else that you talked about, Austin, we were talking about the mugginess and the sunshine and everything. So let me do this. Let's go ahead and we'll take this off here, and we'll take the warning data off, and we'll take a look at these are temperatures that you see here right now recent temperatures. Look at this: 77 Evansville, 76 Henderson, 74 Owensboro. But the thing I want to take a look at is, let's take a look at these dew point values. And this is not what you want to see ideally if you're trying to stay out of a severe weather situation, with the exception of up here in Olney, Illinois. Every single dew point pretty much is 60 or better, and we're talking mid 60s. So that's that thick, oppressive, humid air that storms just love to feed on and nosh on and do their thing with. And we're getting to the point, if the air temperatures were a few degrees warmer, probably 10 degrees or so, it would be one of those things where if you're outside and you're doing anything, even moderate exercise or moving around, you get hot, you get sticky, you start sweating, you go take a shower, and then you get nice and clean. And then 15, 20 minutes later, half an hour, you're right back in the same scenario. And the storms absolutely love that. So let's go ahead and include here. And this is the other element that you don't want to see. You want is sunshine. This is why the Storm Prediction Center revised the tornado watch that's up. It's up until 11 p.m. Central now, midnight Eastern. And this is why we've broken out into mainly sunny skies all across the area, because that underlay there, that is the actual satellite image. And we'll zoom out here and you can see across the region here, got that big notch of just sunshine right there. And you can see, so the cold front is kind of right here. You can kind of see that here, and we'll get my drawing tool back up and we can take a look at that. But let me take the dew point off here, and we'll go back to our temperatures. We'll actually take that off. And if we pop the warnings on there, you can see good correlation there, Austin, right there between where the severe thunderstorm warnings are. And you can see the leading edge of that cold front in the satellite imagery pretty well there, and the storms firing on it accordingly.
Yeah, Mike, no, that is a great picture to have up there. So, as Mike said, these storms out on the leading edge of this cold front, you can kind of see that pushing in. And another great example here, Mike, if you want to pull it up, is put those temperatures back up and look in far western Missouri there, and you'll see how much those temperatures have dropped. They were going to be near the 70s today as well. And so I've seen temperatures dropping out there as far as 48 degrees since this has passed.
100%. Look at this. Cape Girardeau is at 78 right now. And then on the backside of this storm, you come back out to Rolla, Lebanon, and so forth. You're in the 50s. So you've got at least a 20-degree swing from the warm side to the cool side of this system. And you got almost 30 here. Springfield, Missouri, 51 degrees right now. Now, granted, they probably got a little bit of rain going as well, too. And that's cooling things off. But it's 80 out here in Poplar Bluff. So that's just to show you how unstable the atmosphere is on the front side of this system to the back side of it. Okay, so, and most important thing here, let me clear some of this off here. I don't want to overwhelm you with too much information, but we definitely want to get it out there for you. And let me find the watch here. Here we go. So this is that tornado watch that we were talking about here. In this section, this segment of it goes until 11 p.m. Central, midnight Eastern here. So as you can see, most of Indiana under a tornado watch, almost half of Illinois, probably about 45% of Illinois, if you draw a line between Chicago and St. Louis and cut the state in half that way, under a tornado watch. Extreme Western Kentucky right now, and far northwestern Kentucky, just below Evansville. Don't be shocked to see these tornado watches, new ones, be issued as this whole thing moves to the east as well. I did see in the comments here, a couple people were asking, is it still okay for me in Henderson and so forth right now? There's the radar composite. So here's one thing that Austin and I need you to remember very clearly. When we get going with this thing, and it's going to fire, I guarantee you it's going to fire. It's just a matter of time. And you can see here's a line out ahead of it that's kind of starting to gradually flare as it moves east. But this main line that we're looking at here, remember this, gang. If we're not talking about you at any given point in time, you're living right. If we're not talking about you, you don't have anything to worry about, anything severe. You will have showers. You will have thunderstorms. You may have some gusty winds, sub-severe gusty winds. The lights will probably be flashing because you'll probably have some lightning, perhaps even some vivid lightning there. But if we're not talking about you at any given point in time, that means that we are sub-severe as far as the severity of the storms that are moving through. And as you can see here, the line is spelled out pretty good. I'm actually going to go ahead, Austin, and pop all this up here. I really think that tells the picture right there, because we see the storms firing along the line there, the warnings and everything. I've shown the dew point, which are a good proxy for the relative humidity. So, but a long story short, long afternoon and evening, and a potentially dangerous one setting up in the tri-state and surrounding areas.
Yeah, Mike, I wanted to go ahead and pop this comment up here from Kevin. It says here, looks like it's tracking northeast of Evansville. Are we seeing pop up on the back end of this? So, Kevin, that's a great question. And just looking at this right now and seeing this line of showers and thunderstorms, yes, we are seeing showers extend all the way far south into southern Missouri. So we are going to see showers and thunderstorms and severe thunderstorms here in the Evansville area. It's just a matter of time. Again, this is not a matter of if, but a matter of when. And as Mike said, we're going to continue to watch this because you'll see those gusty winds. There's going to be that threat, especially since we have so much convection out ahead of this storm, since we're seeing that sunshine. That satellite imagery that Mike had up, if you notice here, you'll start to see things kind of blow up there on the satellite imagery, and that's going to continue to get larger, and those storms are going to continue to get higher in the atmosphere as they consume more energy, which is going to make them more powerful. So still concerned about a considerable damaging wind threat. That is probably going to be one of the most serious aspects of this, especially as these lines begin to connect, but also going to really be on the lookout for some tornado warnings that pop out on the leading edge of this line. That is going to be a area of concern, as well, as we still have a decent amount of shear in the atmosphere right now. So, Kevin, that was a great question. But yes, we are going to see severe weather here in the Evansville area. And I would say that will be within the next 3 hours.
Absolutely. And that's why, because the initial tornado watch that the Storm Prediction Center put out was set to expire at 9 p.m. Uh-oh. More pressing matters. Look what just popped in there. We got a new tornado warning, so let's go ahead and grab that. We're going to go ahead and shift to our radar here and go ahead and get in on that.
Yeah, Mike, I got some details on that one. So that tornado warning has been issued for Richland County in southeastern Illinois, southeastern Clay County in south central Illinois. That's going to go until 4 p.m. Again, this is a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. It was radar indicated, but it's also carrying ping pong ball sized hail with it as well, moving northeast here at 45 miles per hour.
Okay, thank you for that. And well, I can definitely see why they issued on it right here. There you go. So broad rotation, sufficiently tight for the National Weather Service to pull the trigger on a tornado warning. Let's get down in here and take a look at this guy here. And I am seeing, so that's just basically to the east, southeast of Flora right now. Let's see here. Correlation coefficient. Not really seeing any screaming evidence of a tornadic circulation down, which is good. And let's look at our base velocity here. You can see it a little bit better with the base velocity product there. There's your couplet. Your couplet's right there.
And Mike, I will tell you that on my latest sweep on the reflectivity, it is starting to get a little bit of that hook echo shape to it. So that is also a little concerning for us as well.
Oh yeah, and goodness gracious, look at that hail shaft in that thing, Austin. Good grief. So I tell you what, tornado warning notwithstanding, we want you in a good safe place based on that. But goodness, if you're on Cherry Bark Lane, if you're on Marigold Lane, if you are out on US 45, or I'll even go a little bit further east, so east of Beetleweed Road, if you're north of Clover Lane, south of Airport Lane, and east of Blue Mound Road, and I should have said west over here. So west of Beetle Weed Road and east of Blue Mound Road, you definitely want to be inside because you've got quarter size, you got quarter to ping pong ball sized hail falling out of this thing, is evidenced by that right there. And the hook that Austin alluded to, we're starting to see right here. So it looks like this thing is kind of getting right there. We might be seeing some rotation. That looks like an inflow notch developing right there. So let's go ahead and get down on this here and take another look at it and see if anything has changed. So the reflectivity is lagging a little bit behind the wind, the Doppler product here, the dual pole Doppler product right here, and that's why it's NexRad. Circulation is right here. So Clay City, you guys need to get down. You need to be in a good, safe place right now. And I see Eric, the comment up there from Eric, there's sirens sounding in Olney. Absolutely there are. So, and there's Olney right there. And that's why, because Olney proper is on the edge of that tornado warning. So if you're in Clay City, if you're in Noble, if you're in Olney, you want to be in a good, safe place. And that will be the lowest floor of a site-built structure, near the center of it, away from windows, as many walls between you and the outside as you can get. And you want to get something on your head. You want a bicycle helmet, a batting helmet, any type of a helmet, and you want to have some blankets and pillows so you can go ahead and wrap up in those and make sure that you're protected. Okay,
Yeah,
so
and Mike, I just want to
yes, sir.
piggyback off you here. I think, even if you are outside of the rotation area that Mike is showing you right now, as he mentioned earlier on, so areas like Sailor Springs, just north of Clay City there, you're going to want to also take cover because the hail shaft in this storm is very, very strong. So right now they have it listed as ping pong ball sized hail, but I would not be surprised to see this get closer to baseball sized hail as it continues to move northeast into that convection there. So make sure, please, even if you are outside of that rotation area, take shelter from this storm, because if you're not in the tornado threat, you very well could be in the damaging hail threat as well.
Oh, that's concerning right there. Take a look at this, Austin. And thank you for that great point there. Great call out with the taking cover from the damaging hail. Taking a look at our snapshot rotation product here, the radar is suggesting strongest evidence of circulation just to the south of Clay City right now. If we take a look at that, that is right barely to the north of Bittersweet Lane. It is west of Tower Road. It is east of Dutch Hale Road, and basically south of Highway 50. So let me do it this way. So if you are along, if you're in Clay City, so really if you are along and south of Highway 50 right now, going basically from Noble all the way over to where US 45 and Highway 50 kind of tee out, where 45 tees out into 50, you need to be in a safe spot right now, okay? Because, and there's the hail right there. I'm still not really seeing
Hey, Mike, we are seeing a
anything
little
here.
bit
Go
on the
ahead.
correlation coefficient right
You are
now
now?
near Clay City.
Oh,
Yep.
yep, right there. I, right there. Is that what you're seeing as well, Austin? Right in that
Yes.
area?
Yes, sir. So we are starting to see some debris get lofted up into the atmosphere that the radar is able to pick up on. So I would not be surprised here. Possibility if this goes from radar indicated to a confirmed tornado here shortly. But I would definitely take shelter if you are in the path of this tornado, as Mike just said, Clay City, Noble Olney. You guys are kind of in this path of that rotation. And so, because we are seeing some correlation coefficient, basically tells us when there is being debris detected up in the air. And this is a major factor that it is moving through Clay City. Looks like it may be taking close to a direct hit here. Looked like it might have just been southeast of the city.
For sure. And I wanted to switch here. This is our radar scope product here. And there you can see the algorithm is slightly different here in this product, so you can see it better. Here's the circulation. So yeah, Clay City, if you're listening to us, if you've got your ears on and you're still not in shelter, I don't know what you're waiting for. You need to be in a safe place right now. And Noble, you guys are next, and Only as well. Noble, you've got probably 5, maybe 10 minutes. Only, you've got 15, maybe 20, assuming that this holds character. Let's hope that this thing falls apart and it lifts sooner rather than later, but you don't want to hang your hat on luck. You want to stack the deck in your favor by going to that tornado safe place as soon as you possibly can. And again, that is the lowest floor of a site-built structure. You want to be near the center, away from windows, and you want to have as many walls between you and the outside as you can possibly get. So let's go back over here to Stormwatch NextRad and see what we can find here. Take a look at that rotation again. Okay, so the rotation looks like it's basically slid past Clay City. So assuming that something was down, and it may very well have been, Clay City probably got a side swipe to the southeastern part of town. And it looks like this is out in open country now. It's getting ready to cross US 50 here as we speak in just a little bit. In the main part of circulation, it's on Big 4 Road, which is a north-south road, US 50 right here, and it's actually getting ready to come up on the county line right now. So Noble, you guys are next. You all need to be taking your tornado precautions here right now. In Clay City, just because it looks like the inflow and maybe the circulation isn't 100, may have started to slip by, you still got the hail shaft here, which I think, and I was just going to say, I know that the volume scans are lagging because it's getting pretty busy out here. So this latest volume scan, Clay City, you guys are getting at least ping pong ball, maybe up to that baseball sized hail that Austin was talking about. So it is critical that you guys are in safety and in shelter right now at this time. Let's see here. Got a bounded weak echo region there too, Austin. I'm not overly concerned about that right now though, because I think that the main game is probably here. Let's take a look at
Yeah,
see
you can kind of still
rotations
see that
indicating.
inflow line there, Mike, on your reflectivity,
Yep,
just kind of flowing in. Yep, right there.
yep. We've actually got a couple of areas here. Let me go ahead and mark these off. We got one there. This thing's probably might be pulling some in there. And then you've got this is called a BWER, bounded weak echo region. So that's an area of rain. You've got lighter rain right there surrounded by heavier returns. And that sometimes can be indicative potentially of circulation there. And I almost wonder if maybe that might be it right there. Because you see that how you got kind of a hook, but going clockwise instead of counterclockwise there. Let's take a look here. Storm relative velocity isn't really showing a lot, neither is base though. Well, I take that back. It looks like maybe the faintest amount of wind shift, like a couplet's thinking about developing up here just off to the northwest of Clay City right now. We'll keep an eye on that one. But again, the main game right now is right here. The rotation, the best rotation is on US 50 right now between Clay City and Noble, Austin. I think the best thing we can hope for is this thing might shoot the gap and it'll slide off to the northwest of Noble.
Yeah, that would be what we're looking for there is hopefully they don't take a direct hit here. And again, the good news here is that now as we're seeing it move a little bit further northeast, the rotation is still fairly broad, so we're not seeing a very, very tight couplet, which is good news. But again, and as for correlation coefficient, I'm not seeing a ton as we were as it passed Clay City, just a little bit, but not too much at this exact moment. So going to continue to keep an eye on that. But again, as that there was likely a tornado on the ground just southeast of Clay City. It might have just sideswiped it, like Mike said. But Noble, you are getting pretty close to this area of rotation here. And there is still a little bit on the correlation coefficient indicating that we could still be seeing some debris here. And actually, yeah, if you can circle that, Mike, they're starting to see a little bit better of a couplet now on this latest radar sweep right there. So Noble, in your safe place right now. That is where you want to be. Only if you are not in your safe place, also a good idea to get there. This will likely be extended. I would definitely think they will extend this. But Noble, there's likely a tornado on the ground, as we are still seeing somewhat of a coalition coefficient ball there that could be indicating that it is throwing up debris. And that could possibly still be from where it was previously by just southeast of Clay City there. So some of that debris could still be flying around with that. But again, that's looking good right there, Mike. That is kind of your trademark hook echo picture here. So Noble, this is getting to be more of a concerning situation. Every time this radar continues to go another sweep, it's looking more concerning for you here, especially like we were mentioning before, that there's so much convection available out ahead of this storm. So as it continues to move further northeast, we're looking at these storms strengthening, not weakening.
That's for sure. And yeah, that's starting to look pretty classic right there as far as your hook echo. So Noble, we can't paint it in any better of a picture than what you're seeing here right now on the NEXRAD radar. You need to be in your safe place right now. Is this thing, let's see. So that circulation, I'm going to work under the assumption that that is on the ground right now. That's County Road 200 East. That is US 50 is right where it's at right now. County Road 200 East, US 50, County Road 775 North, getting ready to run right up into the community of Noble, Illinois at this time. You want to be in your safe place immediately. You don't want to mess with this. So the greatest danger, we just got an update, the greatest danger is going to be north of County Road 700 North right there. So north of County Road 700 North, and then south of County Road 900 North, right along US 50, and then Illinois State Highway 250 as well. Okay, and some of the streets there in Noble. So that's West Cherry Street, that's South 2nd Street, that is West North Avenue right now. So yeah, Noble, get down. That's the bottom line. Noble, get down. Austin?
Yep, that's exactly right, Mike Noble. You are going to be in the direct path of this inflow from this storm that looks like it has a tornado on the ground right now. Again, I would not be surprised to see them extend this tornado warning here, but they did go ahead and actually extend a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible within that. So areas just northeast, you want to keep paying attention to this, because only you look like you might just escape this off to the northeast. It might not make a direct hit, but regardless, stay in that safe place till this passes, because there are multiple storms behind that as well. But for areas just northeast, so St. Marie, let's see, Stowey, Robinson, Illinois. These are places that you want to go ahead and make sure that you are in your safe place, because from what Mike and I are seeing right now, this looks to be like it could be a classic supercell structure with that inflow and hook echo on there, and could be seeing some tight rotation in there.
That update, when I accidentally zoomed in too far, look at that. That's looking better. That is looking better. That looks like that could be a problem right there. Let's see here. Now the correlation coefficient isn't showing anything really crazy, but the base velocity seems to be showing that the best right now, because
Yeah, Mike, I'm seeing a really nice couplet here on my end as well. I'm using a different program than Mike is. And the reason that it's good to use two different programs is because then we can actually go ahead and compare the two and see that rotation couplet in there from multiple different angles and programs, which is only confirms our concerns even further.
Yep, and as I take a look here, yeah, it looks good there. This is radar scope. And then when we come back over to StormWatch NEXRAD right here, right there. So, and Austin, if you got a different opinion here, 100%, I want to hear it. but it looks like this rotation has gone just, and I mean literally just, to the north and west of Noble, maybe out in the open country here. And it looks like maybe it's thinking about this couplet's maybe thinking about taking a slight jog to the left, which would give it a little bit more, a tiny bit more elbow room to the northwest of Olney, even though I wouldn't chance that. Not I wouldn't take a chance on that. I would go ahead and be in my safe spot here. And as I look at the wind fields here in the storm, starting to see some kind of broad rotation up there around Bogota and St. Marie as well. And that's why that severe thunderstorm warning is as big as it is. The National Weather Service wants to give as much advance heads up as they can just for the crazy winds that are in these storms this afternoon.
Yeah, Mike, if you take a look at the storm cell just behind this one that we're looking at, I'm starting to see some nice structure in there as well that could possibly lead to another tornado warning here. That's not for sure, but just we are seeing some similar, some
Yeah, I
similarities
see it.
from the previous cell that just passed.
I see it, right? Are you talking this one or are you talking the one down here north of Flora? Or are you talking the
North of
one?
north of
Go ahead.
Florida, yeah.
Okay, this one right here. Yep. That caught my attention right there because that's starting to get that kidney bean shape, the beak of the screaming eagle,
Yep, and
as
then
you
you got
as you
another
call it.
one right behind that. Xenia, I think, is right
Yep,
where it's at right now.
correct. Now the good news is, folks, is remember what I just said. If we're not talking about you, you're in good shape right now. So we've got a host of severe thunderstorm warnings across the board. That's why I kind of wanted to hop out and take the broad view just to we cross check each other, Austin and I do, to make sure that we're not missing any critical information that we need to get to you. So as far as tornado warnings, the good news is this is still the only game in town right now. Don't like the fact that we have to deal with one at all, but fortunately we've got this one. Wow, look at that. In the last few minutes, it looks like that circulation. I want to take a look at, let's see what we got here. Okay. So I think that the volume scans for the reflectivity versus velocity are coming in at slightly different times here.
I will tell you, Mike, I am surprised that they have not extended this, but you have to remember that the National Weather Service right now is dealing with a host of storms moving through. They are extremely busy. And if a chaser or spotter is not out there to report an actual tornado on the ground, they strictly have to go off of what they're seeing on radar right now. And again, there is still some broad rotation in this, so that could be why they haven't extended it just yet. But I would not be surprised to see this cell get an extended tornado warning as it continues to move northeast.
Yep, and there it is, because there it is right there. Let's go here. You know what? One thing I want to check too, Austin. Let's take a look here. Yes, I'm set up with Evansville. Austin brings up a good point, and the reason that you need spotters and so forth to help keep you honest with the warnings is radar beams go in a straight line, the Earth curves. Now, with that said, we're not terribly far from the radar here. We're about 2,600 feet up off the ground. So we're getting a pretty good low-level slice through this storm right now with the radar beam. But nonetheless, the National Weather Service, they've got their hands full because they've got this single tornado warning, and they've got goodness. How many let's see, I'm seeing a total of 26 severe thunderstorm warnings are on the board somewhere right now. So they've definitely got their hands full here right now, Austin. Let's take a look here. That
Yeah,
hail
that's
core is
exactly
back
right, Mike.
again.
In that hail core is staying strong. We are not seeing any weakening in that hail core at all. So again, if you are not in the path of the rotation, you most certainly could be in the path of some severe hail as this storm begins to move through. And if you check it out there, Mike, as well, there is that one large area of the hail swath, but there are also a couple smaller areas too. So again, this storm has a very wide range of where that hail is coming down.
It's kind of like pick your poison as far as damage mode here with this storm for sure, because all of that is heavy rain and hail. And right here, where we've got the radar way up at the high end, because we're up at 65, 70 dBz on the scale of the radar, that's where the core, and then you see the radar is actually helping us out because it's got a 2-inch hail flag right there. So what that is saying is, Austin, Mike, look at this. I'm thinking that there's golf ball sized hail or maybe even larger falling out of this storm right now. And that hail core, that's as much a hazard as anything else. So that is west of County Road 800 East. It is east of County Road 500 East. It
And in
is
that
south of County Road 1600 North, and then north of County Road 1250 North. Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So in that area that you're zooming in on there, I want them to see that black circle area. So I mean, there is no doubt that there is hail in this storm, and especially large hail. If you're seeing that very dark color on there, if you look to your left, there's kind of a graph there as for the coloration, and as high as you get there, that black color is as high as you get, and that's indicating 100% chance that you are seeing some hail. Now, the only difference in there of what you might be seeing is size of hail. Some areas might be seeing penny sized, other areas may be seeing up to baseball sized hail. So it just all depends on where you're going to get hit with this storm right now.
Yeah, we'll see what the National Weather Service does. And for my money, I agree with Austin that this will be extended, and I think they'll probably, well, I don't know. The more I look at this, Austin, I agree with you that it should be extended maybe at least a little bit further, but let's take a closer look at it because they may also be letting it ride and then just allow the severe thunderstorm warning to finish up. But I wouldn't be comfortable with that because take a look at this, look at this here, because I've got one, two, that looks like three, maybe even four places, kind of that sawtooth type thing where you've got multiple places where there at least is some turning or curling of the winds. And if you go back to last night, my analogy, and I've used it in the last event as well, what you're seeing is, and this is, and that presentation on the velocity is, or on the reflectivity rather, is kind of noisy. And yeah, Chris Clemens says getting pretty nasty by Dundas, Illinois. So it's going to get a lot nastier, Chris. You want to make sure that you're inside because you guys are going to get cored here pretty shortly. If you don't have hail falling now, you're going to have it falling in probably the next 10 or 15 minutes. Now I was looking at this front here because you've got one, two, we're getting multiple areas of where it looks like there's inflow notches trying to set up as this storm races off to the north and east. But if they haven't reissued by now for here, they may just, and there it goes. So the tornado warning is gone. So we're back to just a severe thunderstorm warning. So they decided to let it ride, and they're just going to continue with the severe thunderstorm warning there. And that's until 4:45. So that's another 45 minutes, and they drew the polygon so large to account for the speed of the storm and everything. And that's going to take this all the way to the Illinois-Indiana state line as well. So just because there's not a tornado warning, don't fall asleep though, because that hail will do it to you just as well.
Yeah, they are not completely ridding this storm of a tornado threat, as that specific severe thunderstorm warning also is still attached to a tornado possible within that storm.
Yep, and I'm seeing that as I scroll through the text down here. So hail's confirmed, tornado, possible tornado, max hail size 1.5 inches. I would say larger. I like the 2 inches that Stormwatch NexRad is showing us right now here. And then radar indicated wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour as I scroll all the way down and look at the additional detail information in there. So you've still got a wind threat to deal with, gang. You've still got severe thunderstorm warnings to deal with, and plenty of them. But for now, you can take a little bit of a breather. If one of these storms is not bearing down on you, you're in good shape for now. Got a hail core here, so I'm still concerned about that hail causing damage. But other than that, you just got a hail and wind threat right now. And if I had to choose between the triple threat of kind of pick your poison as far as damage mode, leave tornado out of it. I can manage with the other two. What do you think, Austin?
Yeah, and I think the hail is going to be a huge aspect here. There's probably some strong winds within these storms as well as they're moving through, especially as they're still, you can see behind there, it's still kind of making that bow echo motion or that bow echo shape there for us. And, again, as Mike said, if you're not being impacted by these storms right this second, this is a great time to say, okay, we're aware that this is coming. We're aware that we are going to be in the affected area. Now would probably be a good time to say, okay, let's start getting our plan in place now. Start moving your pillows and blankets, or get your weather radio and some waters and stuff, and moving into the basement. If you have a TV down in your basement, maybe just hang out down there, until this passes. Because I think one thing that's super important to note here too, as these storms start to connect and make this kind of linear storm motion, it's going to be over pretty quick as these storms pass through. These storms are moving 45 to 60 miles per hour. So, the first 5 minutes as the storm is hitting you is likely the most destructive aspect of that storm. You get through that first 5 minutes, then you're experiencing some gusty winds, some heavy rain, maybe a little bit of hail in there as well. But, again, get through that first 5 minutes, stay in your basement, stay in your safe place if that's the centermost part of your house, and let these storms pass, because it will happen quickly. That's the one thing that I cannot stress enough, that these storms will creep up on you. Do not try to go outside and see it, because this storm will be moving very quick, and next thing you know, it's right on top of you. And just like that, that damage is super intense and super fast.
That is for sure. You see, I've got the radar looping here right now to take a look. I wanted to see the evolution here and basically illustrate what Austin was pointing out, how these storms are kind of starting to come together in that line right now. And if I let me take the warning data off here, and then so we can see that better without the boxes kind of obscuring that. There you can see the line. You can see it pretty good, how the gaps are definitely starting to fill in as this whole system moves off to the north and east. The other thing that I want to take a look at too, though, is, and this is probably, we're going to see more development as the afternoon and evening progress in this area here, because right now we kind of got just these cellular storms way out ahead of this main line right here. And so far, again, if we're not talking about you, you're in good shape. These things are just kind of popping up and dying away, turkeying out, as they call them, as chasers say. So as long as they go up and down, that's definitely a good thing. You know what? You know one thing I want to do, Austin? Let's do this. Let me stop here. Let's take a look, especially here, since we've got, since I'm in analyst mode here. Let's take a slice through this storm here just north of Olney and see what we can see. How about that? We'll go through there and take a look. Okay, so some hail there, not a lot, but these storms are starting to build. You can see the tops of them right around that 35, 40,000 foot mark there. Uh, and here's your hail. That's going to be heavy rain and hail right here where the purple is at in this 3D representation of it. Let me spin that around there so you can kind of see. And this is Newton. That's Newton, Illinois right there. So come back over here. So, and there you can see that hail. You can see that hail core right there as I move the pivot of this slice here to
Yeah,
see.
Mike,
But
you can
yeah,
definitely see that hail there. And to your point as well, these storms going to continue to strengthen. As we've mentioned multiple times, there's so much convection, so much moisture out there for these storms to tap into, that, I would not be surprised to see these storms starting to hit 45,000 feet within the next hour, I'd say.
definitely. And because, and gang, if you, I know this looks like a child's finger paint or a bucket of spilled paint to you, but here's one thing that I do want to do is, if we take this, imagine, I don't want you outside trying to look at this stuff, by the way. That will upset Austin and I if you're doing that. But if you can imagine being a ways away from the storm and looking off in the distance and seeing that as your anvil, basically your thunderhead, your cumulonimbus cloud, that's kind of the outline of it right there. So if you can take that, make the transition in your mind of turning that into those big puffy cotton ball clouds that are piling up and piling up and piling up, and then you're starting to get that flat top right there between that 30 and 40,000 foot marker that you see up there. That's kind of what this is representing. Karen's asking a question, 45,000 foot higher, low to the ground. So that's 45,000 feet off the ground. So that's, let's see, 5, 8, 40. So that's almost 9 miles up off the ground, Karen. Great question there.
And the higher that you see that hail core up there as well, the colder the atmosphere is going to get, which is going to allow for larger hail. But also think about it this way: the higher it gets in the atmosphere, the longer it's going to fall, which means the faster it is going to come down and cause impact. So that is definitely something to stay aware of as well. And even myself, I am in my safe place right now. And I'm still a ways out from this, but I want to make sure that I'm here tracking with you guys. But I'm not going to be outside trying to view these storms. That is not my anticipation, and that is not what I'm here to do. What I'm here to do is to make sure that you guys are weather aware and are staying safe out there. But I am in my safe place, so that means that you should be too. I have a way. I may even actually lose some of this broadcast when these storms do move through. I'm still probably about an hour or two away from impact, but when these storms go through, if the power goes out, there is a chance that I may lose myself on this broadcast. But Mike will definitely stay with you if that does happen. But I definitely will do my best to stay with you guys.
And Austin, thank you for that. And I also alluding to that, let me backtrack from weather here for just a hot second, because this radar presentation here is of interest right there over DuQuoin and just to the west of Christopher, Illinois. But want to apologize for the some of the technical issues that we had here. Had to do some reconfiguring and pairing up and everything, and we're trying to serve you guys better, and this is part of it right here. Austin gracious enough to join us here as part of the Ohio Valley Weather Watch team. So from your safe place, if you haven't already reached out and said hello to him, I'm sure that he would appreciate if you maybe just give a shout out and welcome him to the team. But yes, so part of what we were also doing is we wanted to make sure that we had some type of continuity here. So if Mother Nature does take his power out, then I'll be able to kind of pick up. We may have to pick up another stream. If we do, so be it. We adapt and overcome. But I just wanted to take a hot second and apologize for some of the stream switching and stuff we had going earlier here. And I'm not seeing two tornado warnings on the board. Where, oh, those are okay, those are way up, those are heading into Michigan. We got one way up here right at Kendallville north of Fort Wayne there, and there's probably maybe one down south of the line here. Not seeing anything right there. Let's take a look at this one here real quick, right over DuQuoin. i'm not i'm not I'm not really seeing anything. What do you think, Austin? This one doesn't look like it's anything to really start jumping up and down about at this point. We'll just kind of babysit it and see what we get here over the
Is
next
that
few
the one
minutes.
that's passing over DuQuoin right now?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So I am a little worried about that storm as it moves farther northeast. I'm not too concerned about it at this exact moment, but that these southern end storms here, so even south of that, just north of Perryville and off to the west there, you'll start to see some storms popping up there. Those are of concern to me as we go throughout the next couple hours.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it here because radar scope, the velocity product here seems to let's go. Okay, see, storm relative velocity is kind of telling the tale, because look at that. That would indicate that this thing is thinking about trying to get some rotation going, and I think that's what we were seeing. If we go here, you see how you're kind of getting that inflow notch right there, everybody.
Yeah, I was just about to tell you that it looks like on the back end of the storm, looks like it's starting to develop a little bit.
So we got that inflow notch there, and that correlates with what we're seeing here. 'Cause what we're seeing here, that's a pocket of strong winds right there, and maybe kind of in this area here is what we're looking at. And Jessica says, nice and sunny here in Henderson. Enjoy it. Use the time to get prepared if you're in
Yeah,
Henderson.
as we
Yeah, let me.
talked about earlier, these storms are not a if you're going to be impacted, but when, and that sunshine is not a good factor when we have severe storms moving in.
40-mile-an-hour winds here. So, yeah, that one, keep an eye on it. Like I said, nothing to really start jumping up and down about and get all in arms up in arms about, but pocket of 40-mile-an-hour winds there moving away from the radar in Evansville. So these winds here are probably doing something like that. And then you've got the line and the winds moving toward kind of doing that. So got that. And if you didn't know, gang, when you're looking at these radar products like this, the trick that I've used since I've been a forecaster, and it's pretty easy, I think you may find it of a benefit too. Green goes in, red runs away. If you remember that, green goes in, red runs away. So green goes, red runs. And I say that because the radar is off the screen up here. The Evansville NexRad radar is up here. So these greens, the cool colors, that's wind moving toward the radar. And the reds are winds moving opposite the radar. But yeah, I'm not really seeing anything too crazy there right now. I
Yeah,
think,
and with storms like this, especially when they get that linear motion, right? So you have strong winds coming towards you if you're east of this storm, right? And then you also think that you have the air coming out of the south, and then bringing up that moisture, and then also the wind shear as you continue to go up further in the atmosphere. So usually with these long line of storms like this, you have a lot of broad rotation amongst them, and that brings that risk for that QLCS tornado risk. But as I was saying earlier, just off to the south of there, you'll notice those little individual cells starting to pop up there. That is a little bit concerning because we're going to see eventually that will make a connection to this linear line of storms. But until that happens, they have all this potential to kind of take advantage of the energy in the atmosphere.
yep, let me do this. We'll flip back over here and give you kind of the big view. This is the national composite, and that radar picture is gonna we're getting over into the evening now because it's 4 o'clock in the central time zone, about a quarter after 4 roughly, and then quarter after 5 in the eastern time zone. There you can see, yeah, there's that tornado warning up there north of Fort Wayne heading up into Michigan, where I used to live many moons ago. Here's the discrete cells that Austin is concerned about. How the question is, what you see here in this area, how far northeast will they travel in that mode? This is what I would call the popcorn that we talked about last night. And actually, if I do this, you can still see it kind of in the picture here. Let me take the warning data off and kind of zoom in there. Seeing the clouds, how you've got like puff there, couple puffs here, puffs here. Those are the higher tops of the thunderstorms right there around the big red, the cloud and precipitation shield, the big cloud shield right there. So
Yeah, Mike, if you can play the loop on that too, you can really show the explosion of those storms on the satellite.
yeah, it's going to take a minute to ingest all the data, but so that'll smooth out, gang. Just give it a couple cycles here and a couple animation cycles through. There, you see them blowing up. They start out here. If you watch right around here, you see how that it was kind of clear, and then boom, they just kind of go up right there as
And
they get into that air.
That goes to show how quickly these storms can develop because of how primed the atmosphere is. So that is why we're concerned about these storms moving in, is because I see a lot of comments out here. Sun's out in Burlington, Kentucky. Sun's out in Evansville, Indiana. Sun's out in Vincennes. Yeah. So that is only helping to continue to prime the atmosphere for when these storms do move in. They are going to take advantage of that and continue to grow. So whether it be the tornado threat, the hail threat, the wind threat, there are three main hazards that you have to look out for over the next couple hours here. And as we saw with that previous storm that we were tracking that had that tornado warning on it, there was some massive hail in there and a very, very large and broad core. So hail is going to be a big factor coming up in the next couple hours.
It 100% will be, Austin. Let me tell you something else here that you can see in this radar loop too. If you take a look, you have to kind of look at it in a couple pieces. I want you guys to take a look at the clouds with the waves and everything in them here, because you can actually see at different levels of altitude in the atmosphere, you've got these cloud streaks, you've got these lines of puffy clouds. Let me stop this here and let me advance it, and then I'll stop it and I'll show you here. Since we've got nothing but severe thunderstorm warnings on, and I'm not trying to discount that those are a concern, but we don't have any immediate threats to life and property that I can see. So you see these lines right here, everybody? You see these clouds that are kind of going like this? The winds are blowing pretty much that way. And then you've got where the thunderstorm blew up, where the storms are blowing up, and those are kind of going this way. So you've got basically at two different levels of the atmosphere, you've got winds in two different directions. And that's the shear that you hear Austin and I talking about. Change in speed and direction of the winds as you get higher off the ground. That's what you have to watch out for, because that's what spins the thunderstorms and gets them severe. And if they get to spinning really good, that's where you end up getting the tornado. So I just wanted you guys to see that. Now watch when I loop it, and you'll see toward the end of the loop what I'm talking about. You see that, how you've got basically clouds moving two different directions in the same picture? That's the shear that Austin and I are talking about. Sorry, Austin, I wanted to nerd out there for just a second and let
Oh
the
no, that
callers
was
see
that
what
was
we're
that was that
talking
was
about.
fantastic. I enjoyed just sitting back watching that. That was great. If you can, let's jump back up towards Olney and Noble there. I'm seeing a little bit of rotation there with the storms that are moving through, and a little bit of development there on
There we
the
go.
high resolution as well.
Yep, for sure. We'll take a look here and see. Let's look at our velocities and see what we've got here. Okay. Couple areas we're going to keep an eye on here in the next several minutes. One, and that's kind of broad, but I would say, for the sake of argument, if I had to go somewhere else, probably here. So you got two areas of concerned circulation right there between Olney and Chauncey, Illinois, right now. Not seeing any. Okay, good news is no screaming evidence of a tornado, no smoking gun, no huge smoking gun as far as circulation to be concerned about. But nonetheless, we are seeing that here. Let's flip over to radar scope and take a look here.
And the good
Oh,
news is we just had a storm move through there with heavy downpours. So not that, to discount that it can't produce another tornado behind it, but every time you have more rain and thunderstorms moving through the area, that kind of helps restabilize things. So even though I am concerned about that area right now, there is also the potential that we could see some of those storms start to die out, specifically in that area, because you're going to see multiple rounds of heavy rain now over the next few minutes.
that's for sure. And I'm taking a look here in radar scope. You can see, I don't know, all of you guys that are watching our stream right now, if you want to take a look, gang, you see those pluses that are on there right now? Those are representative of lightning strikes. So there's more than a little bit of lightning here, and you expect to see that because the intensity of the lightning is also a good proxy for how heavy the rain is that's falling too. So we start seeing a lot of pluses in a given area, like especially up here, this would indicate that there's probably some pretty good rain falling out of the storms up here, St. Marie, Willow Hill, Oblong, Stoy, and Robinson, that part of the world as well. But we'll definitely keep an eye
Mike,
on
I
this. Not
think we just
anything
got
crazy.
another tornado warning here.
Okay.
Looks like it's in effect for western Steuben, central Noble, northwestern DeKalb, eastern LaGrange, and south central Branch counties, and will remain in effect until 5:30 Eastern time.
Okay, okay, so that's way, those I think are way up here, way up in the northwestern part of Indiana. When you said Steuben
Oh,
and
you know
Brant.
what? Yep, you're right.
Yep.
You know what got me on there is that they have a Noble County in there. We were just looking at Noble, so I was
Yeah.
like, oh
So
no.
that's Noble County. That's no so that's yeah, that's Noble County, Indiana. And then when you said Branch, that's what clued me in Austin, because I actually lived I actually lived right over here. This is Jackson County, Michigan. So when you said Branch, that's Branch County, Michigan right there. So yeah, 3 tornado warnings, but thankfully nothing that we have to worry about, well out of our coverage area. But if you know anybody up in that neck of the woods, far northeastern Indiana or south central Michigan, let them know they've got rough weather headed their way too. But back to our area here, yeah, this looks like this is starting to roll over into a kind of a squall line situation. So what we're going to be watching out for are all of these segments where we're getting inflow. I call them kind of sawtooth. I call them these sawteeth in the storms right there, where we're getting inflow as the whole thing's kind of moving off to the east. Because you watch those, that's where the storms are going to be suspect to maybe spin up a quick tornado on the line right there. And those are the ones that make meteorologists pull their hair out, because yeah, you may see one like maybe even down here, because that's kind of starting to get a hook right there, that it'll might spin up, it'll hang out for a couple cycles, 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes, and then it'll be gone.
Yeah, man. Mike, I was just about to tell you as well. I think Mount Vernon is taking a hit of some heavy thunderstorms right now, but as soon as these storms finish up moving through, things are going to start to quiet down for some areas. So this is good news. If you're in parts of central Illinois there, and western Illinois as well, that cold front pushing through St. Louis right now. So you're going to see temperatures start to falling very shortly if you're in western Illinois and into central Illinois as well.
You know what? Why don't we do that, Austin? That's a good idea. Let's go back over to the other system and see if we can and get the parameters here and take a look. So we're right here. We've still got the satellite image up. I'm actually going to take that off of there, but let's pop the temperatures back on here and see what we can get. Wow. Look at the difference in those. Goodness gracious. Mid upper 70s and some 80s out here, and you're in the 60s. You said St. Louis, for example. So you go from 77 here in Marion, 79 in Carbondale, and you're in the mid 60s on the back side of the line, even upper 50s. You got 59 there in Litchfield, 60 Taylorville, Belleville 64. So that's a clear indicator right there. And you can see all this juicy air, because this is where it's really going to start popping off at later this evening. You've got all those 80s down there in Arkansas right now, and then look on the backside of that. So you go from 80 down here, that's Mount Ida, Arkansas, up by Fayetteville, you're in the upper 40s. So you got a 40-degree swing on the other side of that front here, and that's what we're going to be seeing here over the next several hours as well. Come back over here.
Yeah, this is good news, though. If you've seen some of these heavy thunderstorms moving through your area, especially if you're further into western Illinois, that is great news for you, because things are going to start quieting down. It will get a little bit cooler through tonight and tomorrow. But for right now, I would say if you're in western Illinois, you're pretty much in the clear for the rest of the evening.
Yep, these brings that cooler air in on the backside, that cooler Canadian air, more stable, not as much humidity. Storms like moisture, However, they don't like it cold. They like their moisture served warm to hot. So they don't like the cold moisture that would be available on the backside here. Still got some time yet before we start getting over into Indiana, Evansville, Princeton, Vincennes, Louisville, Kentucky, Cincinnati. Still a few hours away here. So
And Mike, I used to have a joke that was, they would say that revenge is best served cold. I used to say that severe storms are best served moist.
yep, no doubt about it there. Let's see. I'm looking at some of the comments here as well. People are saying waiting on the storms. I see a couple people. Will this line weaken before it hits southern Ohio? I see. When are the storms going to come up? I'm seeing that as well. Yeah, there's Shelby's comment right there. Will the line weaken? It's kind of hard to tell. We can kind of get an idea. Let's see what the dew points are like over there. Okay. So here's what I will say. These dew points here are not quite as impressive, and even the dew points have even come down a couple of degrees since we've been on Austin, even over southern Indiana, not diminishing the threat by any stretch of the imagination, but we had more widespread mid 60s dew points, and now we're pretty much down in the low 60s with some exceptions like Owensboro, for example, and over here in Jeffersonville as well. So uh, I do not mind seeing those dew points dropping off either by any stretch, because that's going to be less, the air will be of a lesser quality to support severe weather and favor the storm development there.
100%. What are we looking at as far as dew points in like Western Tennessee and Western Arkansas?
There we go. Because
Just
see,
out of
there's the mid.
curiosity.
That's that's what we were seeing. So there's Western Tennessee. See, ooh, that's not good. If that, assuming that's not bad data, 73 in Savannah, Tennessee, Columbia, Tennessee, 70, 70 in Pulaski, 67 in Memphis. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're still seeing some pretty active ingredients off to the south there. So if you have family off to your south, if you have anyone that lives in Western Tennessee, Eastern Arkansas, Southeastern Missouri, just let them know that they've got some heavy storms coming in, likely severe weather tonight if they're not already aware. I mean, just take a look at those severe thunderstorms just blowing up off to the southwest.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get the composite radar back on so you can see. Holy smokes, look at that. Over Missouri into far northern Arkansas. I will say this though, for the way that the data and the severe parameters and everything looked, Austin, even though we've got this linear system with these severe thunderstorm warnings and plenty to go around, if we're able to get through this evening and get to the overnight hours and we don't see too much more than this, I will not be upset that, I don't know if you want to call it a forecast bust per se, but I will be glad that this system did not perform as advertised. We're not saying that that's how it's going to unfold, mind you, mind you, gang, not by any stretch, but I will not be mad if this is what we see for the rest of the evening.
Yeah, I would say best case scenario here, and maybe you could outline it for me, is that we would see that upper line of thunderstorms move through Evansville, and then those storms that are off to the southwest, by the time that they reach into the area, those would likely start to weaken because the initial line that would move through would take a lot of the instability out of the air for us. That would be really great news for us because we could see then, like Mike said, you could use the word bust, but in reality, we would use the word lucky.
That is for sure. I think I just turned on, let's see here. We got looks like we got some storm reports there. Did I just put on? Let's see here. Oh no, those are just giving a heads up about lightning, I think here. So let me turn those off. Oh yeah, weather, that's why. Let's see what we got for winds here. What do we want? Let's go here. Okay, so that's just giving us winds and knots. That's not let's go back over here. You can see them a little bit better. Get the inspection tool fired up. There we go.
Mike, too, I did want to mention because I had someone just message me and ask me why there was so many more tornado warnings off to the north, and that's because we have a cold front pushing in, but north of that low pressure system, it's actually a stationary front. So it's not moving too much. So that's why they're seeing so much more of these individual cells popping up there because there's not a line really pushing through at the
Wow,
end.
look at that.
Yep.
Gosh, there's your bow that Austin was telling us about earlier, gang. If you take a look there, goodness gracious, will you look at that? Look at this thing.
And so that's just kind of riding along that stationary front right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Branch County's got some problems up there in Michigan right now because that's a confirmed tornado. So yesterday on the on our forecast, we were talking about the different types of warning information. Let me take the radar detail off here so I can also kind of teach you guys here since we're slow in the area as well. This is what you're going to see on most of our radar products, 99%. And correct if you're aware of any significant differences, Austin, please don't keep it to yourself. But so you've got severe thunderstorm warning, tornado warning, basically. So that's typically like a radar indicated situation, but the National Weather Service is still kind of trying to get some ground truth or some validating data for it. And then when you get that confirmed, this is a confirmed tornado warning confirmed right here. So you switch from red to purple. And I think we talked about that last night. So this is the National Weather Service is seeing sustained evidence on radar or Storm Spotter, multiple public reports, law enforcement reports. Yeah, we see it. It's right here, and here's where it's at. That's what's going to change your box from red, which is the tornado warning, the low level, basically the suggested tornado warning, to yes, we know there actually is one right here.
Yeah, and I just seen something in our chat that some of those storms up there are getting reports of winds of 115 miles per hour.
Yikes. I'm almost tempted to, I don't want to go that far afield, but I'm half tempted to look kind of on the side here and see what kind of winds there are up there, because 115 miles an hour, that is category 2 starting to get edge up toward category 3 hurricane, if I remember correctly, if I remember my hurricane scales correctly. That is something else. That's amazing. But yeah, and if we take the warning data off, guys, there's your bow echo right there. So, and the low pressure system, the stationary front's going to be probably up here somewhere. So you've kind of got this area is going to be kind of the stationary front, and the more active part of the front's going to be down here.
Yeah, Mike, and you were real close there. So you're approaching, or you're actually in a category 3, which is 111 to 129 miles per hour. So you're essentially experiencing, if you're further north there, a category 3 hurricane. But something to notice here is look at how more definitive that bow echo shape is compared off to our area in the south. So that is very indicative of those strong winds there.
Yeah, there, because there you can see there's your archer's bow all day right there. There it is there, and then ours, we don't really have a bow. We've got almost a perfectly straight line coming back down through the area. So that's indicative of, as Austin said, the winds, and then you've also got all the rain back here and so forth. So yeah, they're having a pretty rough ride up there. And the tornado warnings are going to continue on. They're going to extend those. Those are going to impact far northwestern Ohio here shortly, as well as that looks like Hillsdale, looks like maybe Hillsdale County and possibly Monroe County up in Michigan.
Let's take a look at that small little cell just on top of Ava right now in Illinois.
Oh, wrong one. Let me back out here. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Yep, that's south, like just southwestern Illinois right there.
Talking about this guy right here?
Yeah, I think we're seeing some hail in there, some heavy winds, and then also could be seeing a little bit of rotation in there, possibly.
Yeah, I'd have to. We can switch radars and examine that a little bit more closely because a little ways away here. Let's do this. Let's see who's closer to that. We could probably Paducah would probably be a better bet to take a look at that one. So let's come down here.
Yeah, it's not showing too much on there, but it is being on the end of that line. It does have a little bit more freedom for to you know to rotate a little bit more than you do when you're in the middle of that line.
Yeah, there he is right there. Yeah, there's not a whole heck of a lot, not a lot to see right there, but yes, let's take a look here. See, that's the good news is we take a look at this from further south, shooting more northerly direction from the next rad in Paducah, Kentucky. These are It's not going to be much fun because you're going to get a lot of straight line wind, some hail, and these storms, based on what we're seeing here with all the pluses, they're definitely flashing the lights and making some noise as well. So, but I think we're in good shape here. You know, one thing I'm going to do right now, Austin, is, oh, wow. See, look at that hail core there, guys. Look at that.
Yep, that's that little storm right on the end there.
This this is the one Austin and I are looking at right now, right there, southeast of basically almost due east of Ava, due west of Virginis there. And that's way up there, 60 approaching 70 dBz on the intensity scale. So
I would say the good news with this, if we can get this to turn into a mainly a wind event, that would be fantastic. As because I don't want anyone to think that tornadoes were not possible today. Most of the bulk shear, believe it or not, was actually just north of central Illinois. So, there was a lot more available shear, which again, remember, shear is a change in direction or speed. And so that can really help tilt some of these storms, increasing the chances for rotation. So having more shear available off to the north is primarily why we've seen, I think probably we're at like 5 or 6 tornado warnings further north of our area. Than what we've seen down here. We've only seen around 1 or 2 tornado warnings that we've had to cover. So, again, that is because all the ingredients were there, except for the shear levels were a little bit higher off to the north there. And as far as further south goes, they may not have the amount of bulk shear, but they are getting those individual cells to pop up, and there's still a lot of instability there. So the further higher up you go in the atmosphere, the more that shear becomes available, and it doesn't even have to be as strong at that point.
that's for sure, Austin. And I'm taking a look here too. Another proxy that we can use as far as to see impacts of a storm is obviously when you get these winds like this 60, 70, 80 mile an hour winds, or in the case of the storms that Austin was referencing up right along the Indiana Michigan state line, we can take a look and see reports how many people are in the dark right now from a power standpoint. And I'm taking a look at that on an off screen here on my system, and I'm seeing that, for example, it looks like the two biggest ones, Pulaski County, Indiana, has a little over 2,300 customers in the dark right now, and a little over almost 5,300 in Stark County, Indiana, and that's way off to the north here. That's up here, and you see that the storms have already gone through there, and that's the heart of that bow echo right there. And you can see they're still getting the tornado warnings and so forth, or is still going through here because there's that one that's extending into Hillsdale County, Michigan, and then this other one just north of Fort Wayne here too. So the fact that I am not seeing any reports, even where the storms have gone through here, is reassuring. I am seeing I'm only seeing, let's see, Edgar and Vermilion counties in Illinois, which are right up here on the Illinois-Indiana border. I'm seeing less than 500 customers out right now. So that's a very heartening thing, that even as nasty as this looks on the radar right now, the power grid is still holding up okay. And hopefully that's a trend that'll continue into the evening. Let's see
We
here.
got Jamie here asking if we're going to see any hail in Evansville. Well, I would say, Jamie, that we've seen multiple storms so far producing at least ping pong ball sized hail. So I would definitely at least prepare for that. If you have a garage, go ahead and get that vehicle in the garage. Bring anything outside that could be damaged from hail. Try to bring that inside or cover it up with something protective, just to be safe. And the other thing I want to mention, and we're not going to get too far into it because we are focusing on these storms. But as we head into next week, there is a severe threat that could be a little bit more intense than what we are seeing today. So just keep that in mind as you're making your plans for next week, that the severe threat does not end after this system moves through, that in just a couple more days, we could be seeing another threat as well.
And that's for sure. And I'll grab that graphic here. And again, we take a deep breath and we work these things one at a time. But spoiler alert here, let me grab this tab and pull it over so you can see it. That is the day 4 severe weather outlook, and that's for Wednesday into Thursday. And this is one of those things that should make you sit up and pay a closer attention when the Storm Prediction Center already has a 3 in 10 chance of severe weather. And if you look, it is almost the exact same area that is being impacted today with our storms here. So again, we'll let's get these storms through and out of here. We'll examine this, Austin and I will, and socialize it with you guys accordingly and get you ready for that next one.
Yep, absolutely. Just make sure that, just wanted to bring that up because I know people are going to start making plans for next week. So just have that in the back of your mind as you're making your plans for next week. Now, I have another comment here from Kaylee asking, should Northern Kentucky expect a tornado watch? Well, we're starting to see these storms start to connect into a linear fashion here. And if you're not already in a tornado watch, it's probably unlikely that you're going to see one be further extended into northern Kentucky at this point.
And you notice something else here. You see, I'm kind of drawn. Let me get the warning data off and redraw that so you can see it. If you take a look at this, now we're starting to see almost like line echo waves here, because you see in basically miniature bow segments. One big line, miniature bow segments within that. Typically, not 100% of the time, but typically when you see that, that typically means that damaging straight line winds are going to become your primary threat mode. Okay, so that's a great question about the tornado. Will a tornado watch be extended? And I will tell you something else. You can see how quickly this is moving. The National Weather Service is already starting to trim counties out of this. They've put up a severe thunderstorm watch for the southern half of Michigan and basically the northwestern third of Ohio. And you saw another county just dropped off literally as I was talking there. So the National Weather Service is very quickly trimming out and starting to pare down this tornado watch as well. So based on what we're seeing here, we need to allow the storms to get from where they are to get from here. We need to see what the storms do from where they are now, which is roughly here, to when they get kind of out here over the next half hour, hour and a half or so, to see. If we don't see any intensification or development when the storms are riding along in this area here, I would say either no watch or maybe a severe thunderstorm watch based on the wind threat. I would be inclined to say that the tornado watch, that would kind of be maybe third order down as far as what the Storm Prediction Center might do. What do you think, Austin?
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Mike. I think, again, Kaylee, great question. If you should expect any more tornado watches to be issued further east, at least for the northern area of Kentucky, I would say no, as Mike had the dew points up earlier, and we were already starting to see some of those drop. So that is a good sign for us as well. And again, you might also be asking, why is further north seeing such a big line of a bow echo, and ours is more of a straight line? Again, we kind of talked about that there was the shear aspect up there as well, but also because that cold front that's pushing through, these are actually a little bit out ahead of the cold front. So if it was riding along directly on the line of the cold front, it would actually probably have a little bit more of a bow echo shape. But because these got started out ahead of the line, out ahead of the front, that could actually be benefiting us just a little bit.
I would say so, and I'm just as you're thinking, and thank you for that. That was a great question, Kaylee. So thank you for that. And that's what we're here for, guys. We're not only here to keep you safe, but we also would like to educate a little bit, or maybe a lot, as the case may be. Austin and I are certainly happy to do that. And we taught each other a couple things just debating and discussing the data that we have here as well. Let's see. Storms will begin to bow out some over southern Illinois. Yep, I see managing forecaster Tony Merriweather is in the chats as well. And what he's talking about, if we switch here, and we are getting a little bit of secondary development behind this line here, and I would say that the cold front is probably somewhere back here. So if I get my drawing tool out and we'll go blue. So the cold front, the actual true cold front, is probably something more like this, if I had to guess. Do you say something like that probably, Austin, for as far as like the actual location of the cold front, and these are forming out in that juicy air just ahead of it right there? So it
Yeah, I
looks like
would say
a
that
little bit.
yeah, give or take a little, that's I would say that that's pretty spot on. And we could see it begin to bow here within the next hour, possibly just a little bit more, especially as managing forecaster Tony mentioned that they are starting to bow out into the southern
There
Illinois
you go,
area.
right
So
there.
that could be indicating that we're going to start seeing these storms start to get more of that archer bow that you see further north near Fort Wayne there. If that happens, obviously we'll be looking at more of a damaging wind threat. And still with these storms, still looking at a damaging wind threat. But as for right now, though, not as intense as what you're seeing further north.
Yep. And you know what, Austin? I think what we can do now, at least for the moment here, is we can probably go back into surveillance and tracking mode, because we've been on just in case. And of course, I say this and I'll probably end up jinxing it, but we have not had any new tornado warnings come up here in quite some time. And of course, I say that. So now we're going to have something here to maybe we want to keep an eye on, because we've got a tornado warning here coming out of Missouri. Nothing we need to worry about yet. And keep an eye
Yep.
on it. But
This is
there he is
another one
down
of
there.
those scenarios where if we see that line move through before those storms begin to move northeast into our area, that would likely weaken, and we wouldn't have to worry too much about a tornado threat. And so I have another good question here from Jordan. So is a tornado chance low in Evansville? Just worried about straight line winds? Well, that's a great question, Jordan. As you can see down in Missouri, we do have that tornado warning. So the tornado threat is not completely gone, especially as these storms continue to move in and there is still some instability out ahead of them. So I wouldn't say that the tornado chance is zero at this point, especially since we aren't seeing that complete bow shape yet either. There is still a chance for a few chances of tornado development. But overall, this is becoming more of a wind threat than a tornado threat. We're definitely going to see more damaging wind reports and hail reports than tornadoes so far. So in that case, yes, there's more straight line wind threats at this exact moment, but the tornado threat is not zero. So please do not let your guard down.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Austin. What I'm doing here now is we'll take a look at some observed data. So what this is a plot of the, what do we have here? Do I have temperature? This is a plot of the dew point, 6 feet off the ground, 2 meter dew point, 6 feet off the ground. So we're still, and this is why Southern Michigan is also having a rough go of it right now, because the dynamic support, as crazy as this sounds, that far north, the dynamic support, because that area is physically closer to that stationary front and that low, you could almost make the case the dynamic support is maybe a tiny bit better there. But you see these dew points, the yellow shading is 60 or better with your dew points, 70 or better down right along the coast. So if you think it's like kind of warm and humid in Evansville and Paducah and so forth right now, try being down in the southern half of Louisiana or not too far from the Gulf Coast of Texas. It is downright nasty down there right now.
Yeah, and
But
we're getting a
these,
couple comments coming in, Mike, about is it okay for people to get out of their safe place right now, and
for
uh,
now, yeah,
do they
I'd say
not
so.
have a lot to worry about? So as Mike said, you could probably relax for the time being for right now. Keep an eye on it. Have a way to get warnings out there. But yeah, definitely do not let your guard down completely, because there are storms still developing. There are still severe thunderstorm warnings out there. There is that tornado warning off to the southwest there from us here in Evansville. So keep an eye on that, and we will also keep an eye on it. And obviously, if anything changes and gets more intense, we would jump right back on to update you guys right away.
Yep, I think for now, guys, and Austin summed it up perfectly. We're gonna put a pin in it here for the moment and just keep an eye. We're gonna go back into our surveillance and tracking mode. And should something come up that would require us to start doing like a tornado warning, for example, we will certainly hop back on here. And of course, I say that, and you take a look at that storm right there to the south of Sullivan, and you take a look at this one south of Robinson here. So before we go, we are going to take a look at that here, and I'm going to take a closer look. Let's switch back to Stormwatch radar. And for that one, okay, we are at Evansville. Good. So I want to take a closer look at these here real quick, but I'm not seeing anything of any real concern there. That looks like a unidirectional wind field. So we've got straight line winds, and I'm not seeing any significant evidence of rotation here. So I think what we can probably do, at least for the moment, um, Austin, why don't we do this? Let's go ahead. We'll go back into tracking mode. If you were hunkered down in a safe spot, go ahead, come out, stretch your legs, get some fresh air. But if you're going to go outside, don't put a whole lot of distance between your front door and your safe spot, is what I'll tell you. Um, be ready to go back in there, if for no other reason, because of 50, 60, 70 mile an hour straight line winds. Okay, so
Yeah,
go ahead,
and
Austin.
as Mike said, we'll keep an eye on it here. Keep yourself in a close distance to your safe place. The severe threat is by no means over, but we are definitely keeping an eye on it, and we are hoping. The hope would be that we don't see any more tornado warnings. That would be fantastic. So, but obviously, it's our job to keep you guys informed and up to date and weather aware. So, you guys go ahead and relax, and we will keep our eyes on this and inform you if anything changes.
Yep, for sure. So we'll go ahead and take a break here, and Austin and I can take a break, stretch our legs a little bit, maybe get a drink of water, keep an eye on this. You guys can do the same thing. So for meteorologist Austin Stantz, I'm senior forecaster Mike Estwick with Ohio Valley Weather Watch, and stay tuned. Severe weather coverage continues, live coverage as necessary. From severe to all clear, we've got you covered. So we'll even talk soon here in a little while, in case we don't get any more tornado warnings, but just to kind of give you a status check as well. So we'll probably do that here in about 30 minutes or so. So thanks for tuning into the stream, everybody. So long for a while.